everybody, and thank you for watching this channel. Today there's been some remarkable events in Parliament. Boris Johnson really does consider himself untouchable. He was taking a grilling on Prime Minister's Question Time, and I've been watching the Parliamentary Committee. They really was giving him a grilling. The arrogance of the man seems to think that he's untouchable, he's going to carry on with the job as Prime Minister. But it seems without a government, because he hasn't got any government ministers left, or not very many, that's seeming to be an impossible task. But I'll show you this clip first from the Parliamentary Committee earlier today, and then buckle up, because I'll be giving some input and some a few truths from Mr. Boris Johnson. And who knows, he might have resigned while I'm making this video. He might have resigned before it's uploaded. But there's only one outcome here. He will be resigning. If not today, he's going to have to resign tomorrow. There seems no way out of Bojo the Clown resigning as Prime Minister. But I must say, it's not going to change. It's not going to be any better with anyone else as Prime Minister. They've still got that Tory chip shoved up the backside. And don't for 1 minute think that things would be better under Sir Keir Starmer. Yes, let's remember how he kept saving Jimmy Savile, if we remember, when he was the head of the Crown Prosecution Service. So I wouldn't trust that man with power of the country. And he seems like he's on board time as well, actually, Keir Starmer. Because yesterday he gave a speech and he said that he's now a reformed man, he's now a Brexiteer, and the knives have already been sharpened in the Labour Party. Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, he's not very happy about this, and I think it's only Emily Thornberry. She was another ardent Remoaner. She's still sticking with Keir, but I think the rest of them are preparing for a leadership election in the Labour Party.
You ask about my relationship with him. I took the whip away from him.
Should he resign from Parliament?
That's a matter for him.
So you think he should stay?
Well, that's a matter for him. But I took the... He no longer sits as a Conservative MP.
Wrong answer, Boris. Of course it is not right that he should be an MP. This man is clearly a sex pest. He should not be sitting as an MP. He's going around groping younger men. My word, such degeneracy. And let's not forget why there was a parliamentary by-election in Wakefield, and that's because the then Tory MP has been convicted and put in jail for only 9 months. I'm sure if it wasn't a member of the elite, they'd get a lot more than 9 months for groping, for molesting. Sorry, not groping. That was what the other guy's done. This Wakefield MP, the by-election was called because he was sexually molesting a 15-year-old boy. Questions need to be asked of the Conservative Party vetting process, don't they? And mark my words, it doesn't just stop at the Tory Party. I'm sure a lot of this goes on with the Labour Party, and I won't put it past some very strange, them very strange people, them funny-looking Liberal Democrats. I'm pretty sure they've got a few closets, a few spiders in their closet when it comes to this degenerate behaviour. I mean, these people shouldn't be in Parliament. Molesting 15-year-old boys, groping another man. And he had previous, let's not forget, I forget the guy's name, but we all know the latest, don't we? The latest dirty little Tory. He had previous. He was given the Tory party whip by Boris Johnson, but he had previous. There's been previous complaints for the same degenerate sexually molesting. It's not the first time this has happened, Boris. Come on. they shouldn't have the option whether they're going to leave as an MP. I mean, the Wakefield MP who was it was after he'd been convicted when he actually resigned as an MP. He was still taking that huge salary when he I think it was after he'd been convicted when he stopped receiving that wage. It was it certainly took his time on resigning as an MP. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is wrong. It shouldn't be down to the Tory party. It shouldn't be down to the individual. If they commit these crimes, if they commit any crime, any serious crime, they should be instantly frog-marched out of the Parliament. I know he's not been convicted yet, but when they should be instantly suspended, and the wage gets suspended until they prove their innocence. If they prove their innocence, they get the wage back. But this guy's not going to be. This guy's not innocent. Let's remember that.
You said yesterday about Chris Pincher, if I had my time again. This is a bit of Captain Hindsight, if you don't mind me saying. But if I had my time again,
you know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you. If I had my time again, I would think back on it and recognise he wasn't going to learn any lessons, and he wasn't going to change. But that's true about you, isn't it? You're not going to learn any lessons, and you're not going to change. You're not capable of changing. We'll be doing this again, time and time again, if you stay in post, won't you?
Well, coming to this committee, I will. And yes, I will. You know, I hope very much to be.
Come on, you know what he's asking, Prime Minister. He's not asking that question.
Well, I don't know quite well. I mean,
you know exactly what I'm asking. You don't. This is all about you in the end. The reason these things happen is because of you. He took liberties because he knows that you take liberties and get away with it, and allow other people to get away with taking liberties.
That's right. I'm not quite sure what you're driving at there.
I think you know perfectly well what I'm driving at. But you were asked. You said on one of the other broadcasts. You said, if you're saying you want me to undergo some sort of psychological transformation, I think that our listeners would know that that is not going to happen. Isn't that the problem? We need a psychological transformation if you're to stay in office.
With the greatest possible respect, what I think we all need to do is focus on the things that our electorates sent us here to settle for them. And they are how to fix the post-COVID economic shocks, and that's what we're doing. How to make sure that we improve the life chances of every kid growing up in this country. And I think what Robert said about kids being excluded from school was incredibly important, and I'm going to go away and look at that. These are the issues that matter to the people of this country. And that does not exclude the fascination that people will have with these other subjects, but that is what I am focused on.
No, Boris, what you should have been focused on, and what would have been better than trying to appease the left, because that's all you've been doing since you took government. You promised a lot of things in 2019, and you've done the complete opposite. You have been trying to appease to the left. This isn't a Conservative party. This is not a Conservative government. This is a multiculti, left-wing, liberal / the raising the taxes that much. It could even be called a socialist government. It's definitely not Conservative. Bad move, Boris, because if you would have delivered on what you promised in 2019, then the people who've turned their backs on you, who voted for you, the people who voted for Brexit, the people who are wanting a right-leaning Conservative government, and they've turned their backs on you because you've gone accelerating to the left. You have become, you really are. I don't know if you're trying to be a Liberal Democrat or maybe Labour, but your government's certainly neither to the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats' policies. And on their style of government, it's certainly not Conservative. What would have saved you and what has destroyed you is your policies. Needless lockdowns, putting the country into lockdown. This has destroyed the economy and destroyed local economies. If we remember Sorry about that. If we remember, you know, the small local family-run businesses were prevented to open during this this COVID, this this thing that was portrayed to instill people, put people into fear. All the small, medium, family-run size, small to medium-sized businesses, family-run businesses, prevented from opening, destroyed their business, destroyed their livelihood. The amount of money that was given was nowhere near the amount they would have received if they was allowed to stay open, but you still had your Tesco's, your Asda's, your Sainsbury's, your big business. Even the local pubs weren't allowed to open, but your big businesses like Tesco and Sainsbury's, they could open, they could stay open all day. So, destroying the local economy hasn't won you many friends. Also, under your government, you've sat back and allowed the anti-white agenda to take over our media. You sat back and allowed Black Lives Matter to run rampage through London and other cities, causing criminality, defacing statues. That was all okay. It was largely peaceful protest, it was said, and let's not forget Keir Starmer bending the knee. And at least Boris didn't bend the knee, but he didn't put his foot down, and he didn't come out and say that this is out of order and it needs to stop now, because he wanted to appease the left. So he allowed the anti-white agenda to rampage. It's taken over the media, education and workplace. And let's not forget cancel culture. Cancel culture, that has all come about since Boris Johnson got elected. Well, I know it's been around prior to Boris Johnson, but it really has run rampage. Cancel culture has run rampage throughout the country. People getting sacked for having a different opinion. Before May 2021, people was allowed to have a different opinion and it was okay. Since May 2021, when COVID turned up and Black Lives Matter turned up, if you have a different opinion that's different to the mainstream media or the government's far-left Marxist ideology that they're trying to push, you're in trouble. You get sacked. Even if you don't say it in the workplace, so if you just say it on YouTube, a lot of people got sacked. I'm one of them. And next month, hopefully, well, there will be a video next month. Hopefully it's one with good news. Yes, we wait till after next month, because the law's not changed since May. The law's the same in these tribunal cases as it was prior to May 2021. So, you can take them through the courts. 2019 promised, he kept saying it, get Brexit done. He's been conning everyone, claiming to be this great big Brexiteer. The majority of people voted for Brexit to stop the open door borders and reduce immigration. And that's what he promised in 2019. Reduce immigration to the tens of thousands. Instead, since Boris Johnson's been elected, we have seen increased immigration. It's gone through the roof. Legal and illegal immigration. Now, he keeps... the Rwanda plan was just a con, because he knew he would never be able to follow it through unless he changed the laws, which stops the left-wing lawyers from stopping flights taking off with the government put these people on planes, and it's literally at the last minute, vast majority of them come off the plane. I think it was, 5 or 6 that was on the that was going to be on the plane to Rwanda before the whole flight got stopped, because the European Court of the European Court of Human Rights, they intervened. Oh dear, we're still in the European Court of Human Rights. Thought we left the EU, Boris. So not really getting Brexit done. We could go on all day about his failures, but the main failure is increased immigration under his leadership and the mass invasion we're seeing at Dover of illegal immigration. Now that could be easily solved. We don't have to send them to Rwanda, Nigeria, etc. All you do is leave the 1950, the outdated, that's why it's 1951. This thing was invented in 1951 before they was coming across on dinghy boats. So it could easily be solved by leaving the United Nations 1951 Refugee Convention. If you leave the 1951 Refugee Convention, then you can literally stop them coming into your country, and they wouldn't even attempt to come here if we left that, because they just get sent back. And there's no paperwork, no red tape from the United Nations from 1951 preventing any country from saying, right, you've come here illegally, off your pack, send them back. That doesn't cost any money, Boris, just to rip up the UN 1951 Refugee Convention, but you wouldn't do that because the left would go in uproar, appeasing the left, and that's why you're if you haven't resigned already, you're soon going to have to resign, aren't you? The needless green agenda, Boris. The green agenda, my words, you know it's a con. All it is an excuse to tax people. The green tax. It's tax, tax, tax. And it's just an excuse to tax the working man and woman. And you're pushing that through with the rising cost of living, which is caused by your ridiculous lockdown policies and the fact that you were stopping local businesses from opening. All of a sudden, the cost of living's rising. And yeah, the globalists are trying to blame all that on Russia, aren't they? Let's not forget Russia, shall we? Because that's another flaw of yours, Boris. The rising cost of living, fuel's going through the roof. Not just diesel either, AdBlue. When the fuel started rising, AdBlue is not it's not petroleum based, it's not oil based, it's basically chemicals. I noticed, I went to fill up my AdBlue, I think it was, I suppose it was around the same time as when the Ukraine issue started kicking off, and AdBlue had gone from 50p a litre to £1.50 a litre. That's a 300% rise. But unlike petrol and diesel, there's no reason why AdBlue should have risen, and that went up from 50p to £1.50, like that. And that's not oil-based, it's chemical-based. It's produced by chemicals, and it's probably produced in this country, and if it's not produced in this country, it should be produced in this country, because there's no reason why it shouldn't be produced in this country. It's not oil-based. And yeah, Ukraine. You're giving billions of pounds or of taxpayers' money in weapons that cost, it was either, I can't remember if it was actually giving them £1 billion of money or £1 billion worth of weapons, but recently you said you're giving Ukraine another £1 billion to help with the weapons in this needless brother war that has nothing to do with this country, and that's taxpayers' money. Billions and billions of taxpayers' money is going to the Ukraine, while our fuel prices and food bills are going through the roof. That's not very conservative, Boris. Neither are you, and that's why you've failed. And yeah, it's only a matter of hours, or into probably tomorrow morning. If you've not already resigned tonight, it'll be tomorrow morning. You're going to be forced to resign, because the Tory party are doing like they always do. They're getting their knives sharpened. But make no mistake, under a different leader, it's going to be the same old shit. And if it's a Labour government, it'd be even worse. The only difference is Tories say one thing, cut immigration, etc., Labour openly say they're going to increase immigration and be a loving, this multicultural, lovely place for this amnesty for all refugees into the country. But the same thing happens under the Tories. They are basically two vehicles. It's two lanes going in the side, going in the same direction down the motorway, and the Lib Dems, the Greens, they're the same. They're all the same, going in the same direction, and it's going against what the people want in this country. So one thing, there's one good thing about this: if people are waking up, people should be waking up now. For Brexit, when the people voted for Brexit, these scoundrels in Parliament tried their damnedest to stop Brexit from being done. They tried to go against the people. It took years for us to actually leave the European Union after we voted for it in 2016. And now you're not just gonna see the end of Boris Johnson. It sounds like the end of Keir Starmer's rapidly happening if he doesn't get a fine. And if he gets a fine, he promised to resign, remember? He's made the mistake of saying that he's now a reformed man and a Brexiteer, because Brexiteers aren't going to believe that, and they shouldn't believe that. And the Labour Party really don't like that message. They're already getting them blades sharpened to stab Sir Keir in the back. And I can't see him lasting much longer. So Parliament is clownwalled, it's a laughing stock, and they're getting paid a hell of a lot of money. And we pay their wages. The people need to remember, we are their boss. And this political system really does need ripping up. We haven't got time left now. It's you could argue it's time for a revolution, because it's the system's geared up just for these main two parties. The only countries that have this first past the post, the only countries that do the elections via the same way we do, first past the post, in Europe, is the United Kingdom and Belarus. So yes, it suits Belarus. That's a dictatorship, and the first past the post system suits a dictatorship. We've got the same dictatorship. It's either going to be red or blue. It's always either going to be red or blue. And I think it's time. The people need to stand up, and we need to get at least proportional representation of the Swiss style of voting. That's quite a good one, the Swiss style. They have a lot of referendums, and it's more direct democracy. And yeah, it's this outdated Victorian system, this first past the post. It's really not democracy, and we're seeing that now. Time after time after time, they promise one thing, deliver something different. The opposite, sorry, not something different. If they promise one thing, I mean, they deliver the complete opposite. Scoundrels. Right, I'll leave you with, there's a video now, and it's another video from that committee meeting. It's I think it's a Labour Party woman, but she really does rip into Boris, and actually she spells out to Boris the numbers, and she spells out to him that his time is done no matter how much he squeals about it.
Could you tell us what 148 plus 32 adds up to?
I'm going to leave that. I think what you're inviting me to do.
No, I'm asking you a simple question, Prime Minister. Right, okay. And earlier I asked you how many MPs you have. Perhaps someone's slipped you a note just to remind you how many Conservative MPs you have in Parliament.
I think, Meg,
do you know how many Conservative MPs you have in Parliament?
I think, Meg, this is a question designed to invite me to comment on
Prime Minister,
political events. When I've told
you don't want to answer it, let me answer it then. So you have 358 MPs. You did think it was 365. You have lost a few. As Mr Bryant has highlighted, you now have 32 ministers and PPSs who've resigned. It was 28 at the beginning of this meeting, and then an additional PPS who will resign tomorrow if you don't resign. So that makes it 182 if you include her. So half of 358, Prime Minister, just to make the maths simple for you, is 179. It's not looking very good, is it?
Well, Meg, you're wanting me to comment on
You've lost the confidence of more than half of your party, not including other members in this room who may not be in the 148. I've been generous and not double counted.
Well, sure. I'm here to talk about the government of the country, the policies.
Mr. Prime Minister, without the support of your party, you cannot govern this country responsibly or well. Whatever our political disagreements, I have respect for the office of Prime Minister, but I'm afraid I've completely lost respect for you and your capability to run this country.
I think if you look at the actions that we're taking today, the bills that we're getting through, we are doing some fantastic things for the people of this country, and we'll continue to do them. And I appreciate they may not be supported by the Labour Party, Meg, but that's not my problem. That's your problem.
No, Prime Minister, about competence.